Howdy ESSM 406. In this video I want to talk to you about some of the limits of community and some of the limits of collaboration. In terms of community, I have a whole reading for you about that. It's the reading by Agrawal and Gibson. It's the same Agrawal. He's one of my mentors along with Ostrom. And Agrawal and Gibson are actually advocates of community management, but they say its benefits are sometimes greatly exaggerated. People often ignore the fact that just because people live in the same area doesn't mean they have the same interests. Oftentimes, local communities may have great inequalities, so turning over resources to local communities might mean that the elites in those communities will take those resources, grab those resources, and may not conserve them. They may use them. So a classic example of elites doing this comes in some timber-dependent communities all over the world. You'll find that when local elites get a hold of the timber, they may overharvest it very quickly, get lots of money, and invest that money somewhere else. Maybe they'll move to the city and leave behind the people who are working for them who now don't have that resource base to support themselves and maybe don't have the other resources that the forest gave and are left worse off. So communities have heterogeneous interests, and when we turn things over, we say, oh, communities are wonderful. We're running the risk of what we call elite capture. Elite capture means the elites are going to capture all the resources, steal everything, and not leave anything left for the common people. This is actually a real phenomena that happens all the time in natural resource management. So there's a real concern that when we turn over to communities, we may be creating a situation of deep inequality and unsustainability. Communities themselves may not be interested in the sustainability of a resource. Again, a lot of my research is about forests, and one of the things I found is one of the alternative uses of forest land is agricultural land. Well, in a lot of places, people need agricultural land. So if we turn over the forest to the local people, they may just turn it all into agriculture. Well, that may be good for them, but it may be bad for society as a whole if we have a value for that forest. Again, collaboration. Wonderful, we can resolve conflicts. But conflict is one of the ways we make change. In the next unit, we're going to talk more about making change, but just think about one of the other implications of collaboration. So when you say, oh, you're a collaborator, you're collaborating with the enemy, with, I don't know, I guess our enemy today is Al-Qaeda or an Islamic terrorist group. We talk about these people being your enemies. And if you act in a certain way, you're collaborating with the enemy. That's bad, right? So we don't always want to collaborate. We want to collaborate when it can help us achieve our common interests. When collaboration is cheaper than conflict, when it can help us achieve common goals that may be hidden. But we don't always have common goals. And sometimes we may be locked out of the process. We may not have a voice in how the decisions are made all the time. So by collaborating with someone who's destroying the natural resource or who's destroying our livelihood, we may not really achieve our goals. We may need to be in conflict with those people. So those are some of the limits of communities and some of the limits of collaboration. Howdy ESSM 406. In this lecture I want to discuss usually talking about relatively small local groups of people working together to manage cities, different interests, shipping, fishing, oil, pollution. All these things are being managed, and all these people might come into conflict with each other. And collaboration means people working together. So sometimes collaboration starts when people are in conflict and they decide that this conflict is not productive,